in the German mind there is going on a particular myth, something very particular.
Yeah.
And psychologists really should look out for these things.
Yeah.
But they prefer to think that I am a prophet.
Yeah.
Ha! That I am a prophet.
Yeah.
Ha!
Abraham looks up to his God, the God of all living according to him, and that God prescribes him a personal story. On the other hand, Manu looks up to his personal God, the God most probably manufactured by Manu himself, and that God prescribes him a story of collective.
How would you look at Hitler in this light? Would you see him as a personification, a symbol of the Father?
Oh, well, no.
No.
Not at all.
I know.
No, you see, I couldn't possibly explain that very complicated fact Hitler represents. It is too complicated, you know. He is a hero figure.
Yeah.
And the hero figure is far more important than any fathers that have ever existed.
I see. Much broader than
No,
the
he was not
immediate
a father
father
at
figure.
all. Not at all. He was a hero
Yeah.
in the German myth.
Yeah.
And, mind you, a religious hero. He was a savior.
Yes. Yes.
He was meant to be a savior. That is why they put his photo upon the altars.
Yeah.
And now he can die in peace.
Well, hello and welcome to this एक और random video. The idea of random isn't apparent now because this is the second one, and today we are talking about boredom.
If you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes back into you. The abyss also gazes back into you. The abyss also gazes back into you.
Life's boring. मैं कह नहीं रहा हूँ ये. It's a fact. Just as Kierkegaard, Soren Kierkegaard, अपनी बुक आइदर और, उसका बुक का टाइटल है आइदर/और, में लिखता है कि boredom is the root of all evil. It is very curious that boredom, which itself has such a sedate and calm nature, can have such a capacity to initiate motion. The effect that boredom brings about is absolutely magical, but this effect is not of attraction but of repulsion. But in this book, वो categorically ना तो evil की बात कर रहा है ना ही boredom की. As the title suggests, he's talking about two choices, ठीक है, that we have to live by. He is deterministic in his choices. And remember the term deterministic. It's gonna come back later. The first condition is me, you, and everyone are born into. The condition of aesthetic life. The life to pursue comfort, taste, pleasure, and most importantly, to do away with the boredom. ठीक है. और अगर कोई God या belief हमें help करता है to aid into this project, only then we should adopt it. Basically, to live with our rational faculties. In the second condition, the only obligation we have is to do away with all the rational accounts, all the Greek assertion that we give ourselves to make sense of our existence. ठीक है. अभी he does this trick, जहाँ पर he says कि that you were born into rational aesthetic condition, so you would want to rationalize the nature of divinity, so that it can cater to your aesthetic life and aesthetic needs. So the title of his book is actually deceiving. You don't actually have two choices. You have one choice, that is to stop rationalizing the nature of divinity. And bear in mind, this is my conclusion of his understanding, ठीक है, and it's vague. जैसे कि वो कहना चाहता है कि you can't rationalize the nature of divinity or the nature of belief by Cartesian method और Kantian method. ठीक है. भगवान को तुम डुअलिटी में नहीं मान सकते कि मैं एक कंडीशन हूँ, दूसरा देयर इज गॉड, ठीक है, एंड थ्रू द आइडिया ऑफ डुअलिटी मैं और वो, आई कैन क्रिएट अ ब्रिज बिटवीन. ही इज सेइंग यू डोंट हैव अ चॉइस, ठीक है, आइदर यू आर नॉन एस्थेटिक एंड यू बिलीव इन गॉड, और यू आर एस्थेटिक और तुम जो भी कर रहे हो वो अपने आप को झूठ बोल रहे हो और अपने आप को झूठ बोल के बता रहे हो कि द नेचर ऑफ गॉड इज़ वॉट यू थिंक ऑफ इट. इट्स एक्चुअली नॉट. तो वो अब्राहम की स्टोरी को रैशनलाइज करने की कोशिश करता है, जहाँ पर अब्राहम हैज़ टू सेक्रीफाइस हिज सन फॉर बिकॉज गॉड टोल्ड हिम सो. नाउ कांत अपनी ऐसे में लिखता है कि ही ट्राइज टू गिव इट परफेक्ट रीजन कि अब्राहम ने अपने बेटे को मारा है तो वो कैसे पता उसे भगवान ही है, और तो वो पूरा कांतियन स्टाइल में उसे रैशनलाइज करता है. बट यहाँ पर किर्केगार्ड से कहता है कि हमें ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. He knew that it was God asking for the sacrifice because of his belief. He can't think in any other way than to think that it was God, because it's his belief. But in this video, we are not talking about Kierkegaard. We actually have talked about Kierkegaard, but this video is not about Kierkegaard. Neither it's about God or divinity. It's about boredom.
The abyss also gazes back into you.
One name, Franz von Stuck, a 19th century German painter. 1889 में he painted a painting called The Wild Chase, in which he depicted a German pagan god of storm and frenzy called Wotan leading a procession of dead. Now if you look closer, you might see a resemblance of Wotan to a certain infamous figure from history. And yes, Adolf was born in 1889.
I am a prophet.
Yeah.
Now I want to discuss a paper written on Adolf by a certain Swiss psychologist called Carl Gustav Jung. ठीक है, और उस ऐसे का नाम है वूटान. So the legend goes in a way that a wandering collective soul of Germanic pagan god, and the god is called Wotan. ठीक है. So he says the Wotan is the wild geist of Germany. The geist actually means the soul, or the gist. The word gist comes from geist. ठीक है. So a wild geist of a forgotten legend is roaming in the wilderness of Germany, and according to Jung, it manifests itself in the same airy, wandering and bored of apparent reality souls. Just Adolf के साथ साथ है, Jung gives us more examples like Nietzsche, Schuller, Stephen George and Ludwig Klages. इन सब में ही उस wandering collective soul के कुछ ना कुछ असर देखने को मिलता है according to Jung.
The abyss also gazes back into you.
It's as if the either in either or is just too small for these wanderers, and the or in either or is just too simple of an answer for what they are searching for. So they try to channel a story which is willing to make them a part of its living legend. ठीक है. So in this case, a war among countries for the material reality is just too small of an agitation for the Germanic race, and accepting the reality of Germany after World War I was just too simple of an outcome for the wild geist of Germany. In fact, Jung goes to the extent of saying that Protestantism, the Christian sect of Protestant Church of Germany, is actually Germanic paganism disguised as Christianity. Jung himself wasn't foreign to such ideas. He himself has been having these dreams of blood and frenzy that he tried to illustrate in his book called The Red Book. He thought that he was going insane. But when World War II started, he saw all this blood, all this chaos, and he thought, God, I wasn't mad. I was kind of channelizing a prophecy in this. So he himself thought that he himself became a part of wild geist of Germany, or say that Wutanic race.
I am a prophet.
Yeah.
So Jung himself analyzed Nietzsche, the Nietzsche of all Instagram cool sadist people, that same Nietzsche. He analyzed him. ठीक है. He analyzed Nietzsche and his Dionysian inclinations. Nietzsche endorsed the idea of going back to the society which is pre-Socratic and non-dualistic and paganistic in its nature. ठीक है. Especially closer to the ideals of Dionysus. But Jung suggests that what Nietzsche was inclined towards was much closer to Germany than he originally thought. The ideal warrior god that Nietzsche wanted Germany to adopt wasn't Dionysus. It was more local. It was Wotan itself. As Jung writes, Wotan treats personals as vessels. जैसे Nietzsche suffered an eventual mental breakdown and he eventually went insane in 1889. Jung puts it in the terms of Bhutan getting a new soul, that Bhutan wanted to carry its march after Nietzsche, because Nietzsche had gotten older. He wasn't that sharp, he wasn't that good for Bhutan, and he left his soul, and he left him to be insane, and started searching for a new soul, which he eventually found in the form of our Adolf. Okay, that sounds bad. Okay, but now I'm making this video because I'm bored, and in making the video I've gotten bored, and tum bhi, you must have gotten bored watching it. So I should end this video here. Until then, beware not to let yourself fall into a trap of a civilizational geist or civilizational soul, or maybe do let yourself fall into the trap of some civilizational old will or old geist. मुझे खुद नहीं पता क्या होगा वो करने से, पर जो भी होगा एक बात तो सही है, बोरिंग नहीं होगा. Till then, it's beyond us. Bye. भाई मैं गांव से हूँ ना, इंग्लिश बोलना नहीं आता ढंग से.
You've got two choices. Either being is, or being is not. And since being is not the same as becoming, becoming is the same, or change is the same as not being. Well now, how can you have change if there is no being change? And if those are your options, being or not being, well, it's pretty obvious being is it. Therefore, from logical proof, you can say that all change is an illusion. I'm not really walking around here. It just looks that way.